We're going to be going over 5.4, writing and solving proportions. This is the last new section that you're going to need to know for your quiz coming up on Monday. Yesterday we talked about how to solve proportions using cross products, okay? So you would multiply by the things that are diagonally across. Today I want to teach you two new methods that you can also use to solve proportions. First thing I would like you to do is take your red pen and I want you to circle mental math. So this first one that we're going to be talking about today is called mental math. And when you're doing something like that, write this to the side. You are basically trying to find a missing link. Mental math is actually my favorite way to solve a proportion because it is the fastest way. So yesterday we learned, you don't need to write this down, but yesterday we learned that you would have to do 3 times 8 equals 2 times x. Then we know 24 equals 2 times x. Trying to get x by itself, x equals 12, and we would just rewrite it, okay? So this is using, what was that method called, guys? Cross products. So what I want to teach you now is a way to do it much faster than all that work that we just did. Here's what you have to do. Do we know both the numerator and the denominator in the first fraction or in the second fraction? The first one. Do we know both the numerators or both of the denominators? We know both the denominators. So here's what I want you to do is just take a little arrow and go like this. We know both of the denominators. So in between getting from a 2 to an 8, there's a missing link. If I have a 2 and I'm trying to get bigger to go to an 8, should I multiply by a number or should I divide by a number? Multiply, because I'm trying to get bigger. 2 times what number equals 8? 4. So what we're going to write here is 2 times 4. All right, so multiply by 4 is my missing link. If I multiply the bottom by 4, what do I have to do to the top? Multiply it by 4. You got to do the same thing to be fair. So looking at the bottom, is this a true statement? 2 times 4 equals 8? Yes. Class, what's 3 times 4? 12. So guess what the answer is? 12. Beforehand, I showed you how to use cross products, and we got the same exact answer. But which way is faster, cross products or mental math? Mental math is so much faster. Let's go to the next one. Do I know both the numerator and denominator in the first one or in the second one? The first one. I can see it's a 20 over a 32. The variable is in the second fraction. Now, do I know both the numerators or both the denominators? Both the numerators. So I want you to help me to understand, how do I get from a 20 to a 5? Should I multiply or divide? Divide, because I'm going from something bigger to something smaller. 20 divided by what number equals 5? 4. So guess what my missing link is? What about 4? Divide by 4, because I am going from something bigger to something smaller. So if on the top 20 divided by 4 equals 5, I also need to divide the bottom by 4. Class, what is 32 divided by 4? 8. So the answer is D equals 8. Now sometimes you cannot easily find the missing link, but if you can, this is definitely the fastest way to solve. For the next one, I'm going to teach you another new way. It says solve the proportion using what, guys? Multiplication. Everyone take your red pen and I want you to circle the word multiplication. Now this is not a brand new idea. Remember how we've talked about before trying to get the x all by itself? Do you remember that? This is what multiplication is. Let's look at problem A. What is not allowing the x to be alone? Divide by 21. So what's the opposite of divide by 21? Multiply by 21. Guys, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Some people today have said it's helpful to them to know that's over a 1. If that's helpful for you, you can do that, but you do not have to. Let's talk on the right side over here. What happens to that 21 divided by 21? It cancels out. It basically turns into a 1, and on the right side, I'm left with an x. Drop down the equal sign. Now let's focus over here on the left side. Can anything cross-reduce over there? Yes, which ones? 21 and the 7. What number goes into both of those? A 7 goes into both of them. How many times does it go into a 7? Into the 7 it goes 1 time, and into the 21 it goes 3 times. Let's focus on the numerators. Guys, what's 5 times 3? 15. Over, and what's 1 times 1? Do I need to put it 15 over 1? No, I do not. So it's 15 equals x. Remember, we do like to put the x first, so I'm just going to switch those. The final answer is x equals 15. All right, so remember, once again, with multiplication, you are just trying to get the variable by itself. Everybody identify the variable. W. What's not allowing the W to be alone? Divide by 6. So what do I have to do? Multiply by 6 on both sides. Remember, once again, sometimes people say over 1 helps them. You don't have to do that unless you want to. On the left side, what happens to 6 divided by 6? Okay, it becomes 1W, and I only need just a plain old W. On the right side, is there anything that can cross-reduce between the 9 and the 6? What number can go into both of them?
3.
A 3. How many times does 3 go into 9?
3.
3 times. How many times does 3 go into 6?
2.
2 times. Once again, let's focus just on the numerators. Girls, what's 6 times 2? 12. Boys, on the bottom, what is 3 times 1? 3. All right, can I simplify 12 over 3 at all?
Yes.
What would it equal? 4 is correct. All right, so W equals 4. Here's what I want to show you also. I'm going to erase all this work that we did up here. Basically what you can do when doing a problem like this, I could take the answer W equals 4 and I could plug it in right here. So instead of saying W over 6, what would that say?
14 over 4 over 6.
4 over 6, okay? So watch as I do this. You don't have to write this down, but I'd like you to try it out, okay? Let's start and focus on this first one right here. Put it in your calculator, 4/6, or 4 divided by 6. When you do that, what do you get?
0.6 with a line over it.
All right, 0.6 with a line over it. Equals, now let's focus on this one, 6/9. Put that in your calculator. Once again, 6 divided by 9. 0.6 with a line over it. Does that make sense? 0.6 equals 0.6? Yes, so that's just a way that you can check it. You don't have to, but if you ever want to, you can take your final answer and plug it into the original problem and see if they do in fact equal each other. If they do, then that means it checks out and you did it correctly. The last and final method that we're going to talk about today is once again a review from yesterday. Solve the proportion using cross products. Let me have you circle cross products. As I said just a minute ago, on your test and your quiz for next week, there will be different instructions that tell you whether it wants you to use mental math, multiplication, or cross products. So that's why we're kind of circling it in red so you can remember which method each of these are. Looking at the first one, what is diagonally across from the x? Very good. Circle it with your red pen. And what's diagonally across from the 8? 7. All right, someone had mentioned before lining up the equal sign, so I'm going to drop that down. On the left side, I have x times 10. How should I write x times 10?
X over 10.
Not x over 10, that means divide. 10x, all right? Whenever you can, put the coefficient, the number attached to the variable, first instead of saying x10, okay? On the right-hand side, it doesn't matter whether you do 8 times 7 or 7 times 8, because it means the same thing. On the left side, I can't do anything with the 10x yet. Drop down your equal sign. And class, what is 8 times 7? 56. Now remember, this is kind of like what we did in the last chapter. Your goal is to get x by itself, to discover what the variable is. Guys, how do I get rid of that 10?
Divide by 10.
Very good. I'm going to divide by 10 because whenever you have a number next to a letter, it means to multiply. All right, so now your answer is going to be 56 divided by 10. What's that answer, guys? 5.6. And once again, if I were to take this 5.6 and plug it in up top, then you could see that those do in fact equal each other. Looking at the next one, what is diagonal from the 40? 6. What's diagonal from the 15? M plus 1. This is a little different because we haven't had it have more than just one number. So looking at that first part, I've got to multiply my 15 times m plus 1. What do you think I should put the m plus 1 in? I need to put them in parentheses, okay, because that tells me the 15 has to be multiplied by this entire thing. Not just the m, not just the plus 1, but m plus 1. Equals, what will go on the other side? 40 times 6. Do you guys remember what I need to do when there's a number tucked on the outside of the parentheses? distribute it to every single one on the inside. So the 15 has to multiply by the first one and by the second one. Noah, what do we get? Very good, because 15 times m is 15m. Okay, we're multiplying when a number is next to that. Plus 15 equals, Einar, what's 40 times 6? 240. All right, so here we've got a two-step problem. Do you guys see the best friends? Who is it? 15m. So if you remember, you want to always keep the number attached to the variable together as long as you can. Brayden, what should I do first? You are correct. We're going to subtract by 15 on both sides. Matthew, what are you left with? Okay, 225 is on the right side. What's on the left side? 15m. Hope, how do I get m by itself? Very good. We're going to divide by 15 on both sides. Yes, that's excellent. 15 is the correct answer. Then we'll go ahead and box that in. Okay, and once again, like I said before, if I wanted to redo this, 40 over m plus 1 equals 15 over 6. Let's just check this out. Guys, instead of putting an m, we discovered what m is. What is it? 15. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to put a 15. Now, guys, let's focus on this. What is 15 plus 1? 16. So put this into your calculators. 40 over 16. When you do that, what do you get? 2.5. Now I want you to focus on the right side. 15 divided by 6, or 15 over 6, what is that? 2.5. We want those to equal each other, so you can see here, it did check out, which helps me to understand m equals 15 is the correct answer. All right, let's go to the next one. Find the value of x so that the ratios are equivalent. 3 to 8, how would I write that as a fraction? 3 over 8 equals x to 20 would be
X over 20.
x over 20. Now, it doesn't tell us we have to use mental math or multiplication or cross products. Here's the deal. Multiplication, as long as the variable is in the numerator, it's going to work out, okay? That's the only one that you really got to be specific. Sometimes the mental math can be hard to find a missing link, all right? But I want you guys to try to find this answer on your own. Did anybody do the mental math one? What was the missing link for the mental math? 2.5. Okay, so here's the deal. We know that we are trying to work to get from this side to that side. In order to get the missing link, you can take your biggest number, divide it by the smallest number. When you guys did that, you figured out that it was 2.5. So I'm going to be multiplying by 2.5. 8 times 2.5 equals 20. And then 3 times 2.5 equals what, guys?
7.5.
X equals 7.5. How many of you would say you did it the multiplication way? Did you guys still get 7.5? All right, that's the answer you want. How many of you would say you did cross products? Did you guys still get 7.5? Excellent. Okay, so it should not matter which way. For me, I do think, once again, mental math is the fastest, but you can use any method if it doesn't tell you a specific method to do. All right, I want you guys to do problem B on your own. All right, so 2 to 4 and x to 6 is 2 over 4 equals x over 6. Who would say you did it the mental math way? All right, what's the missing link when you do mental math? 1.5, okay. Who would say that you did it cross products? All right, when you did cross products, what answer did you guys get? 3. Let me see if I get the same thing as you, okay? I've dropped on the equal sign, and we've got 4 times x equals 2 times 6. 4 over x equals 12. You want to get that x by itself, and x equals 3. How many of you, when you did mental math, you also got x equals 3? Good job. Did anybody do it with multiplication, where you tried to get the x by itself? Did you guys also get 3? Fantastic. Okay, so you can see that no matter which method you use, your answer should have been 3. If it wasn't, I want you to erase it. Let's ask some questions to see what went wrong. All right, so with modeling real life, I typically am not going to ask you to use a specific method. Here's the main thing you've got to remember with modeling real life. Units need to be attached, and you've got to have the same units on both the numerator, and then on the denominator, you've got to make sure both of your denominator units are the same. So let's look at this first one. A chef uses 1.5 cups of black beans for every 2 cups of water. How much water would he need to use for 6 cups of black beans? This is a very common kind of problem you might have if you're doing any sort of cooking in the kitchen. So let's start with the first thing it gives us. What does it tell me first, guys? Okay, so let's start with that. 1.5 cups of black beans. Per how much water? 2 cups of water. So if you notice here, I've got my beans on top, and then I have my water on the bottom. So on the right side, when I line these up, I still have to keep the beans on top and the water on the bottom. Does it tell me how many beans they're going to use for the other part? 6 cups. And does it tell me how much water we're going to use? No, I'm just going to put an X. This is X amounts of water. All right, then you'll notice once again over here on this, we are using beans on the top, and then the mystery at the bottom, the X, is our water. So it's beans per water. At this time, I do not care which method you use, but there's one method you can't use. Which one can we not use? Why can't we use multiplication? You're right. Whenever the variable is in the denominator, you can't use multiplication. So I want you guys to either use mental math or cross products and try to find the answer. How many of you would say that you used cross products? Okay, once again, cross products is something that works every single time. So I'm going to go ahead and do cross products this time. I get 1.5 times x equals 2 times 6. Guys, what's 2 times 6? 12. Very good. How do I get rid of that 1.5? Divide by 1.5 on both sides, and what do you get? Okay, now here's the deal. The question asks us how much water would he need. How much would that be? 8 cups of water. Did anyone do mental math? What was your missing link for mental math?
4.
Okay, 4. Very true. All right, so if you put in here 1.5 times 4, you would get 6 cups. And then if you were to focus on the denominator, 2 cups times 4 equals 8, which is exactly what we got down there. Okay, so once again, either of those methods would work well. All right, for the final problem today, a Titanosaurus heart pumped 50 gallons of blood for every 2 heartbeats. How many heartbeats did it take to pump 1,000 gallons of blood? I want you guys to try to set up your proportions. Just remember, whatever the numerator units are, make sure it's the same on both numerators, and make sure the denominator units are the same on both denominators. You can use any method that you would like. Does anyone want to help me with how you set up your problem? Myra, what'd you do? Okay, so we've got 50 gallons over 2 heartbeats. Remember, especially with modeling real life problems, it helps to keep the units attached. And then I heard you also said 1,000 gallons of blood on the top per, and we don't know how many heartbeats, so we're just going to put an X. All right, for those of you who went and did this method, did anyone do mental math? Okay, what was the missing link for the mental math? What about the 20? Multiply by 20 or divide by 20? Okay, very good. All right, so 50 times 20 equals 1,000, which means I also have to multiply down here. 2 times 20 equals what, guys? 40 what? 40 heartbeats, okay? Let's try to see if the people who did, how many of you did cross products? Let's see if we get the same answer. I would multiply diagonally. So 50 times x equals 2 times 1,000. Guys, what's 2 times 1,000? 2,000. How do I get that x by itself? Divide by 50 on both sides. X equals what? 40 what? Heartbeats. Did we get the same answer as those who did mental math? Who had less work? Mental math people. Okay, that goes a lot faster. Once again, when you're coming to a problem like this, you could always do both methods and check to see if you get the same answer. And that's another great way to see if you checked it out correctly or not. All right, so tonight's lesson for homework is over 5.4, and there are 9 problems. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead now. You've got about 15 minutes to be working on this assignment today.